Hey, everybody, this is Brett Ingram, and this is the optYOUmize podcast, the show that helps entrepreneurs build their dream business and dream life. Today, we're talking with Rhonda Britten, founder of the Fearless Living Institute, best-selling author and Emmy Award winner, who's changed lives in over 600 episodes of reality TV. She's a master life coach and has been a repeat guest on Oprah. I'm super excited because we're seeing record levels of depression, fear, and anxiety in society today. So we can all use some strategies and tips to improve our lives. So with that, welcome, Rhonda. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so glad you said that because that is so true, is it not? I mean, talk about a fearful state of being for businesses. I mean, I know so many businesses are down 30% or more and everybody's worried about their future. It's kind of like another COVID, so to speak, right? Or another 2008
It's,
where, yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. And, even before all this recent craziness, just in general, my wife is a high school teacher. So she sees
God
kids
bless her.
and
God bless her.
yeah, and we know, like, we can see, we have our own kids, and you can see the pressures that are on them these days, and you can see there are so many people now that have just an unsettling sort of feeling about life and about where to go from here and stuff like that. So I think what you do in that regard is so important, especially now. So I have a lot of stuff I want to talk to you about, but can we start off with your background? I want to know your personal story. Can you share with us how you started your career?
Oh, sure. So I think you're asking me about the worst day of my life. Because I believe that the worst day of our lives has the seed of our destiny, right? So we don't know it at the time when we're crawling through glass, right? We don't know it at the time while we're chewing dirt, but when we move forward we can look in hindsight and go like, oh, that was the moment that it really was the catalyst, the explosion, the seed that was planted that got me here, even though it took 20 years, 15 years, 20, 30 years. So the worst day of my life was when I was 14 years old. And I grew up in a little tiny town in Upper Michigan, 365 inches of snow a year, two restaurants,
That's a
Douglas House
lot.
Buffet Hotel and Big Boy. And it was Father's Day. My parents had recently separated. My father was coming to take us to brunch. So my mother's got her beehive hairdo, fluffing it up, and her blue eyeshadow and her rose-colored lipstick, right? And my two sisters are in our one bathroom fighting it out. My dad walks in the back door. Come on, Dad. Come on, kids. Go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, girls. Let's go. Because that's what dads do. And me and my mom start walking out. And as we do, my sister's still in the bathroom fighting it out. It's starting to rain. So my father says he's going to get his coat from the car. Now, this coat was a tan Naugahyde leisure suit coat. And I think you're too young to remember Naugahyde leisure suit coats because those were in the day.
Fringy, yeah. I'm a little bit young for them, but I know of them. I just never, we didn't own
We
any.
never got to see one or touch one.
Right, that's right.
Well, so my dad opens his trunk to grab his out. And I notice out of the corner of my eye that he is not grabbing a coat, but he is grabbing a gun. And he starts yelling at my mother, "You made me do this. You made me do this." And he fires. And I start screaming, "Dad, what are you doing? Dad, what are you doing? Stop." And he cocks the gun again. He points it at me. And he blinks, I blink, he blinks, I blink. And then my mother, literally with her last breath, sees what's happening and yells out, "No, don't." And then my father turns that bullet, that gun intended for me, and shoots my mother a second time. And that second bullet hits my mother's abdomen, goes out her back, lands in the car horn. And for the next 20 minutes, all I hear is, eh. My father cocks the gun a third time, puts the gun to his head and fires. So in a matter of less than 2 minutes, I was a sole witness of watching my father murder my mother and commit suicide in front of me. Now, I don't know how you'd respond, but this is how I responded. It was my fault because I was the only one physically out there that could have saved him, right? I didn't
Yeah,
grab the gun, right? I didn't kick his shins. I didn't jump in front of my mother, right? And now they're dead. And so I recognized like you don't get to be happy ever if you watch your mother die and you did nothing. That's off the table. Happiness is off the table. And basically I split into two that day. The outside Rhonda, which is I'm fine. There's no problems. I'm fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. And inside is like guilt, shame, self-deprecation, pain, beating myself up, just self-hatred because I did not save my mother. And so that's really how I lived my life for the next 20 years. And I found alcohol, became an alcoholic, got 3 DUIs, 3 suicide attempts, And it was my third suicide attempt that I realized something, realized I'm not good at killing myself, not skilled at that. And I had to figure this out because, by the way, while I was, drinking, DUIing, and suiciding, I was also going to therapy, going to workshops, reading books. I read my first self-help book when I was 12, right? So I was a
Wow.
self-help junkie my whole life. So I did everything one would tell me to do, everything I thought I should do to help myself. But here I am still attempting to kill myself, right? And when I wake up the third time, I am not happy. And oh, by the way, when you try to kill yourself 3 times, they do put you in a psychiatric ward.
Yeah.
So they did evaluate me. They deemed me not crazy, let me go home. And here I am in my little studio apartment, wanting to die, not dying, having all this knowledge and tools, but still feeling there is fundamentally something wrong with me.
Hmm.
And I remember thinking to myself, I have to start over. Like I just have to start over. And so I thought to myself, well, what do kindergartners do? Well, they get a calendar and gold stars. So I went to the store, got a calendar and gold stars. And every day for the next 30 days, I gave myself, and by the way, I still have this calendar.
That's
It's in my
awesome.
office. And I gave myself a gold star for anything I did positive. Anything that made me feel like a desire to stay alive, right? That invest in life, right? Anything at all. So I'm talking about drinking and not getting drunk. Like, look at me, I drank but didn't get drunk. I'm amazing, right? So those are the types of things that I was doing.
Yeah.
But at the end of 30 days, I had hope because I had a calendar filled with stars.
Yeah.
And I didn't know yet how much fear was running my life because I was still oblivious and in denial about fear because I didn't relate to fear. I grew up in a family and in a society, in a culture that you didn't have feelings and you definitely didn't have fear. So I still didn't understand that I was afraid and I was scared. I just thought I was flawed and something was wrong with me. But it gave me hope that I could, in fact, maybe shift my life. And that set me on the path that eventually, years later, after a couple other miracle moments, moved me into what I do today. But I really didn't think that I was worthy to, when I first, was one of my mentors was like, Rhonda, you're going to be a great coach. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, remember the DUIing and suiciding and the, drinking? I'm not a great role model here, people. I'm not a great role model. So, let's follow the alcoholic. Yeah, let's follow her. No, right. Oh, and don't forget the DUI and suicide. No, you get 3 DUIs, you go to jail too. So spend time in jail. Oh, yes, let's have my child follow that person, right? So I did not believe that I had a right. As I started healing myself and moving through miracle experiences, I didn't think in the beginning that I had a right to help anybody else or share anything because who was I to do that? So it was a long journey, but that I look back on that and just know that I do believe in destiny, and I choose to believe that that was part of my destiny. And I do see very clearly that gave me the impetus to do everything I've done, go through all the crawling through broken glass that I've done in order to be able to sit here with you today and talk about fear in a very real way.
That is, first off, what a remarkable, remarkable story. And so much credit for you to having the resolve, despite the fact that you went through all these challenges, the recognition of the fact that you had to change something and implementing your own mini reward system
That's
was
right.
brilliant. It really is. And I'll tell you, it's fascinating to me because, first of all, I understand that's a very common thing when you go through a situation like that to blame yourself and feel that way. That's impossible for a kid to unpack, an adult to unpack by themselves,
Right.
let alone a kid. But you don't have that perspective when you're at that age.
That's
So
right.
all you're thinking is you're overwhelmed with those feelings. And so totally understand that. But to your other point, it's fascinating to me because I've talked to so many people, and it's remarkable to me how many people help other people solve the problem that they once suffered from. Because who's better qualified? Here's the thing, you could be a paragon of everything and all virtue and a perfect life. How are you then equipped to help somebody who's struggling? It's
Yes.
actually the opposite. And that's the irony of it, right?
Yes. Yes. And as long as you're waking up, right? As long as you're on the journey, right? I agree. But when first it was presented to me, like, you could do this, I'm like, you are a crazy person. Like, you are nutso. Because I really just saw myself as somebody. At that time, I still believed that my past was who I was, right? Even though I was getting healthier, even though I was, healing myself, I still didn't think I could outrun my past.
Yeah.
And I think that's true for so many people.
Hmm.
And I also think that one of the things that people come to me for, and probably come to you for, is permission. I want permission. They don't ask for it, of course, they can't ask for it. But what they're dying to hear is, yes, you have my blessing. Yes, you have permission. Yes, you can do it. Because they, like me, believe, well, who wants to listen to me? I don't, I've got a screwed up relationship, or my kids are not the healthiest, or, yeah, I got this handled right here, but not this. So how can I help? How can I? No, I can't expose myself, right? So I know for me, I had to give myself permission in
Hmm.
order to do that. And it took a bunch of, again, miracle, I would say, woo woo miracle experiences for that to transpire. But because I really believed that I still carried that past with me. And
Right.
so, just for everybody listening right now, I know we know this logically, right? We all know that we all know it already, right? Like, we're not our past. We all know it, right? We all know that, you can transcend it. We all know it, but we don't believe it,
Yeah.
right? And so that's where my tools and everything that I do come in, because I would read books that say, love yourself, love yourself. And I'm like, how do you actually love yourself if you've never loved yourself?
Right.
Right. Right. Like, I'm so tired of, I was so tired. I remember feeling so just frustrated with all these books I would read and the workshops I would take. And they would tell me who I should be,
Yeah.
but they never told me how to do it. And
You
that's
know,
why I'm so fanatical about how.
it's funny that you bring that up because I remember, and it always reminds me of this commercial. There was a commercial, and it was supposed to be a funny commercial, but
Mhm.
it was basically this family driving in a car, and they come up to a place in the road where their giant redwood has fallen across the road.
Okay.
It's massive. There's no way to, and then it just cuts to a scene with them driving past it, and everyone's smiling again. And that's what it always reminds me of, right? Anybody can paint the picture of the sunny new day, but it's the process of getting there that's the whole challenge, right? I mean,
Right.
and that is fascinating to me. But the permission thing, it's great that you bring that up because I see that you do it in the realm of life coaching. I see that in the realm of entrepreneurship. It's amazing to me,
Absolutely.
even in business, people need to be validated and told, yeah, go ahead, get on camera, go do, and it's like it's so obvious. I mean, I spoke to somebody who she's a business person, and she has a phenomenal story. She's got a great presence. She's got all the equipment. She's got all the tools. She's got all the stories.
Mhm.
She's got her whole studio set up. She won't shoot videos because I said, take the plunge, just do it. Start
Yeah,
putting yourself out there. Like you've got everything you need.
that's right.
But it is true. Sometimes externally, we need somebody to kind of tell us, and we can't ask for it, but we need someone to tell us, yeah, just go do it.
Yeah, but because there really is a how. There really is a how. Even though technically, right? Technically, she understands how to turn on a camera, right? She technically knows, like, to look in the camera, right? She technically knows all those things. She technically can buy a microphone and
Yeah.
technically do all those things. But there is that shift, that step that you have to take to go on camera, right, and speak, and that's the leap, right?
Right.
Right. So it's that how do I actually show up without all my fears showing up? How do I show up and be authentic when I can't be authentic, half the day, right? How do I, people are going to see right through me, again, whatever that self-talk is, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people that is true, true, true. And so that's why I'm fanatical about the how. Like, how do you do it? And so when I first started being coaching people, and I was one of the first life coaches in the world,
Yeah.
there was no life coaching when I started. There were
Right.
five of us. There was like five of us, right?
Yeah.
But again, I'd hear speakers and I'd read books, and they would say, like, just love yourself. Just gotta have more peace in your life. And it's like, okay, well, how do you do that? And so I set about for my own life, and I care about, like, like the gold star, like the little tiniest things. And
Hmm.
it's that moment of, okay, so, hey, I'll never forget this woman who wanted to start going to the gym. And the gym, she lived in an apartment building or condo, and the gym was across the street. Okay. It was across the street, and it was across a busy street, and it was like 6 lanes. So it was, fast and pace, and she was older, and it was, fast, and it was scary. Right. So all I cared about was that she got to the corner. That's all I cared about. I didn't care about going to the gym one iota. All I cared about was, could she sit at the corner and just watch the cars go by, right? And then eventually I said, okay, now just cross the street. Like, I didn't care if she went to the gym, because what was stopping her was that road, that mental block of that
Yeah.
road. And
Mhm.
so I'll never forget when she walked across that street. I mean, I was like, whoo, because I knew that was the hard part. Getting to the
Right.
gym actually wasn't.
Right.
Right. So we think, I think most people think their problem is not their problem. What they think their problem is actually not their problem. Right. Like, they think it's getting a great marketing plan. Okay, that's nice, but that's actually not your problem. Going to the gym working out is actually not your problem, right? It's getting to the gym, right?
Yeah.
So we focus on the things that we think we're supposed to do, that everyone tells us to do, but we actually don't address the very thing that's stopping us, which is actually the problem itself, which is the action moving towards something. Because then we have to change our identity, right? We have to change our identity. Our friends might leave, because who are we to go to the gym or start a business or get on camera and be open to all that? And we might lose friends, because how dare you get on camera and think you're all better than me, even though she doesn't, right? So it's all, I see over and over again in people, that the thing that stops them is the fear of what other people think, right? Or that they're going to lose people, right? That's a
Yeah.
huge one.
Yeah.
And also the humiliation of, could they fail, or will they get laughed at, right? And will they be alone?
Yeah.
So these are the things that actually stop people from going to the next level.
Yeah. So that's powerful. So in the context of life coaching, right? I know sometimes people get confused. There's so many ideas of different coaches and what do they really do and everything else.
Don't get me
So
started. Don't get me started yet.
I have to get you started because I want you to tell us. So, what exactly is life coaching and why is it important?
Great question. So, first of all, I do have to give a caveat that the life coaching industry in and of itself is not doing well, in the sense of that it's eating its young, so to speak. So, most people, sadly, in the life coaching industry have never been properly trained themselves. So, they're certifying coaches and have never been properly trained, because coaching has now become a framework, like, oh, here I have a 12-step program.
Right.
And if you go take my 12-step program, then that's the life coaching. That's actually the program. That's actually not the coaching. So I train coaches, I certify coaches, and I'm actually creating a program right now for all coaches, because I want to train them on skills. I'm actually the only coaching program in the world that has coaching skills as her base.
Wow.
Everybody teaches frameworks, not skills.
Yeah.
So I train my coaches that they can coach anyone, anywhere, about anything at any time, because that's how good you want to be as a coach. It isn't about topic. So there's health coaching companies, right? Health coaching certifications that teach you how to health coach. Well, okay, that's nice, but that health coaching company never has you work with a client once during their year-long program. They have no mentorship, no supervision, no anything.
Wow.
Yet
Really?
most coaching programs, 99% of coaching programs, have no supervision, no mentorship. You're not even required to have clients.
That is amazing.
So what
But,
they do is they do peer
go,
coaching, right? They coach their
yeah,
friend who's in the class. Well, but that's not your client.
no.
Your friend in the class actually knows everything you know. So that's actually that's not a good,
And
that's
they're
not a good
they're
thing.
they're not likely to be honest anyway
Right.
if you're not good because it's awkward to
Right.
say, well, no, that wasn't really good. But I love the fact that you draw the distinction between skills and framework because they're both important in their own way.
Yes,
But at the end of the day, the skills are the thing that
that's right.
allow you to be effective at what you're doing, right?
That's right.
Anybody can take a framework and copy it. Anybody can take a framework and try to squeeze things into it or follow steps. But if, as a coach, and I think about this even in the context of sports, right? So I was a track athlete in high school and college, and I was a javelin thrower as my main event.
Wow.
So when I was in college, first couple of years, I was okay, but I felt like I plateaued. I just couldn't seem to get past this certain thing.
Mm-hmm.
Brought in a new throwing coach my junior year. He worked with me. I'm not even kidding. He worked with me for probably 20 minutes. He saw something that I was doing because it's such a
Hello.
technical thing.
Yes.
He saw the
Yes.
form and he
Yes.
said, this is the thing you need to do. This is how you fix it. I qualified for New England's that year. My best year I ever had.
Yes. Yes. Right. So I had one of my clients said to me, she goes, Rhonda, I'd rather pay you the money I pay you, which is more than the most coaches. I'd rather pay you and work with you for 6 sessions and everything solved, right? Than work for a year with somebody else. And I go, yeah, because I can see things that people can't see. So one of the things about skills and frameworks is, well, I'll just step back a minute. The number one thing that I hear from coaches all the time, and it's all over the internet, is I need better clients. My clients aren't serious. My clients aren't committed. Okay. You know what I teach my coaches when I certify them? If you want different clients, you're not a good enough coach.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you can't move somebody, right? So coaches are looking for better clients. And what they're really looking for is easier clients.
Easier. That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Instead of, no, hello, you need more skill. You need more skill because you should be able to. Any coach worth their salt should be like that trainer that you worked with, that coach who came into you, look at you for 20 minutes and be able to diagnose something that you cannot see. And
Yeah.
that's what I do. Sometimes, I work with people in one session, I can change their life. Just one time, give me your biggest problem, one session, let's do it. Come on, let's do it. And give me the truth and I will help you just like that coach will, because that is master coaching.
Yeah.
Most of the coaches today, sadly, are just doing frameworks. Now, are those valuable? Yes, because there are a lot of people that are new to coaching, and having a framework and going through a 12-week program is a great step for them. Great step for them. But eventually, if you do not get further training as a coach, then they're going to outgrow you. You're only able to do those 12 sessions, maybe 20 sessions, maybe, but you're not going to be able to coach them to the next area, to the next level, to the next place they need to go. My clients stay with me for years. I still have clients from 30 years ago. I have clients from 5 years ago. My clients, I think all my private clients right now, on average, are 5 to 7 years with me.
Wow.
Right? Because they keep on transforming their life. So
Yeah.
the results are so great in one area. They're like, well, let's do this area and let's do this. And then, of course, as they reach higher levels of success, they need refinement, like you did with your form. They just
Yeah.
need a little tweak, right?
Right.
So so I become their secret weapon, so to speak, right? So coaching, what I train my coaches to do is the difference between coaching and therapy. And I train my coaches on this because I'll just say another pet peeve. There is no way you can be a trauma coach. Trauma therapy is years of training. So a trauma coach can have experience in trauma themselves, but they are not a trauma therapist. So I teach my coaches, if it is a current problem, something that they want to create for their future, some shift, great coaching client. But if they're repeating the past, if they're dealing with a death, a divorce, something that they are repeating over and over again, right? When people are on, what do I want to say? Repeat over and over, right?
Yeah.
They're
Right.
just on, right? They're a broken record. That's what I wanted to say. Then they need to have therapy. And you need, as the coach, to understand the difference. If a client keeps coming to you and talking about their divorce over and over and over and over again, they're not getting over it. So you think moving them forward will do it? No, they've got to heal the pain of the past. Send them
Yeah.
to therapy, and you can still coach them. I many of my clients do coaching and therapy,
Sure.
but you got to know where you belong. And so if you have trauma, I know people are not going to like this, but do not go to a trauma coach. Please go to a trauma therapist.
Yeah, it's a powerful distinction. Look, at the end of the day, there are going to be things that you can do, but what you don't want to be doing is trying to band-aid something or keep rehashing the same thing.
That's right.
And to your point about the skill of the coach, just to sort of put a fine point on that, I always look at it from the perspective, when I talk to my wife about, she teaches English literature, and she says,
Oh,
you talk to kids, right? Their writing is at all different levels.
yep.
The measure of whether or not she's good at what she does is not whether or not the kid who's struggling to write is Shakespeare by the time he graduates high school. It's has he improved from like it's
That's
you
right.
want to take people from where they are and make them improve, help them improve in what they're doing. So if they're already excellent, you want to take that up a notch and make them even better, right? But if they're struggling, then even if they get to competency, then that is forward progress there. And
Yeah.
so I think
If they even learn the tools of writing, right? If they even understand, like, okay, what's a metaphor and how to use a metaphor, and I mean that is critical. I'm a writer. I've written 4 books. I just got my
yeah,
master's in creative nonfiction during COVID. I got back my master's,
nice.
finished my memoir this past year, and it's I teach writing classes now as a pleasure tool. And it's never about becoming this great writer. It's about embracing writing. And I just love it. I'm just so excited. I love your wife already.
Yeah, yeah, she's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So all right. So one of the areas I know you focus a lot on is fear, right?
Yes.
So I just want to ask from a 10,000 foot view. Most people, when they think of the word fear, it has a negative connotation, like it's
Yes.
always something bad. So, in your opinion, is it always bad, or is there value in fear as well?
Oh, fear is awesome. Fear is awesome. Fear is just a signal. So fear is part of our neurobiology. So there's no getting rid of it. So when people say like, take this class and I'll never, you'll never have fear again. Don't take that class because they're going to give you a lobotomy and that's not going to be helpful for you in so many areas of your life. So don't do that. It's about understanding how fear works in our neurobiology, right? Because it is part and parcel of who we are. And I like to think of every feeling having a job, and fear, its job is to keep you safe. It's to keep you alive, not even safe, alive. And the thing is that fear doesn't know the difference, and our neuroscience doesn't know that neurology doesn't know the difference. Our brain doesn't know the difference of physical fear versus emotional fear. So many people, when they hear fearless living, they go, oh, jumping out of planes. I go, no, it's about jumping into life, right? It's not about jumping out of planes. Physical fear, we all get that. You and I can talk about physical fear, and you would probably confess to me your fear of heights, and I would confess to you my fear of
Heights,
heights, right? Right. Like, I don't want to go on a
guilty.
hike, forget it. Like, I'm not going out to that, I went to Norway recently and they have that, that glass over the canyon. I'm not doing that. I'm going to look like, oh, look at that. And I'm not getting on that glass. Right. And I don't have to prove myself to get on the glass, right? So physical fear, our body and brain is meant to keep us alive. The challenge is that our body and brain don't know the difference between that physical and emotional fear. And so the emotional fear is really what drives us each and every day. The fear of rejection, the fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of looking stupid, the fear of being lazy, the fear of looking selfish, right? Those are the fears that actually run our day-to-day life. And we actually don't even know those are fears. We call those problems, right? So we have something that I call fear responses. Things like overwhelm, comparing, judging. I got a whole list here. Right? I got a whole list here of words that we do as fear responses. Isolate, whine, compare, manipulate, get defensive, judge, complain, procrastinate, people please, worry, struggle, blame, etc., control, deflect, feel defeated, self centered, powerless, bitter, entitled, guilty, disappointed, perfectionist, indifferent, overwhelmed, self pity, irresponsible, annoyed, irritated, victimized, right? Like, these are fear responses. Okay.
Yeah,
And people think that those are their problems, right? They go, oh, I'm judging. I got to really quit judging. I'm sorry. I comparing myself. I know it's my Achilles heel. I got to quit comparing, right? And we beat ourselves up and put ourselves down because we are doing these behaviors, right? And we think these are our problems. I've got to quit people pleasing. I've got to quit procrastinating. I've got to get this solved. And in fact, what we're doing is we're making the problem, the fear response, the problem, when in fact it's just a fear response. So you only get overwhelmed if you've already been triggered by fear. You only procrastinate if you've been triggered by fear. If you're sitting on the couch eating Doritos, you're not triggered. You're not procrastinating. You're literally eating Doritos watching a movie, right? And the fear doesn't even bother you, right? Because fear only comes to visit you when you are in the midst of what I call a stretch, risk, or die. And that can be a new thought, it can be a new behavior, it can be a new plan, it can be a new action, right? But fear doesn't visit you if you are sitting down and basically stuck in that place of, complacency, right? It doesn't care. because freedom equals our ability to live in the unknown. I'll say that again. Freedom equals our ability to live in the unknown. So the more in the unknown you are, when you're in that stretch, risk, and die, right? Fear is activated. Obviously, it's going to be activated. But once you understand how fear works and what I call the wheel of fear, once you understand how that works, then it's no longer a problem. It literally becomes like, oh, this is what I do. Like it becomes just another process. It becomes another mental model to look your life through, because neuroscience tells us that the only way to truly change your life is to change your perception. So the wheel of fear is one perception. The wheel of freedom, as I call it, the antidote, is another perception. So that is what I want, what I really attempt to do is to help people understand that fear is actually not the problem. It is actually, fear loves you. Fear thinks you're crazy, like loves you, wants you, it's nuts about you, right? And it just wants you to stay alive. It just thinks that that new thought you're having will kill you. It just thinks that new, putting that gold star on will kill you, right? It is just thinking those things, because everything to fear is life and death. So it is hair trigger. They're going to die. They're going to die. Oh my God. If she thinks about dating and she hasn't dated, or if they think about opening another branch of their business, oh my God. Oh my God. Right. So we want to actually understand how fear works so we don't get tricked into believing it. Instead, we want to live on our wheel of freedom. Now, everybody who's listening to us right now, I know, already lives on their wheel of freedom, many areas of their life. So we want to focus on where they're not living on their wheel of freedom, right? And
That's
sometimes,
yeah, and I love the way that you articulate all that, because it definitely reframes it from the perspective that a lot of people have about it. So I'm curious. So what about people that have fears but repress them, or they aren't in touch with that, right? So like you said, it masquerades as something else. You think that you're focused on a symptom instead of the problem or whatever else. Is there a strategy or some kind of tips that people can follow if they want to try to get at the root of what's really behind it all?
absolutely. So the first thing that I invite everyone to do is to actually start reframing the things they think are problems or the things they beat themselves up for as fear responses. If you start reframing and relabeling those things, so like I'm overwhelmed, oh, I'm overwhelmed, oh, I shouldn't be, or I'm judging. No, stop right there and go, this is a fear response. Okay, this is simply a fear response. Because just starting to recognize the things that people think are their problems, things that they think are character defects, all the things they shouldn't be doing, all the ways they judge themselves, if you can simply just start reframing them as fear responses, then you're putting them in the proper context, and the negative self-talk, beating yourself up, will decrease, because now they're in the proper place. Okay. The next thing to do, if you want to go to the next level,
Yeah.
is in the world of Rhonda Britten, is in fearless living, is to actually identify your wheel of fear, because each of us has a core fear. And so I take you through that process in my book, Fearless Living. I take you through that process in my class, my self-paced class, Fearless Living Transformation Program. And of course, you can also hire a coach, certified fearless living coach, to walk you through it. And it takes you through a series of exercises to help uncover that thing that doesn't want to be found. Because that's the thing. The wheel of fear doesn't want to be found, because the wheel of fear knows everything you know. It's as smart as you are, knowledgeable as you are, educated as you are, spiritual as you are. It knows everything about you, and it uses everything against you. So it does not want to be found, because fear cannot keep you safe if it is found. It wants to stay hidden, because then it's tricking you and it will get you, right? But if you see it, then the gig is up, right? Then it's like, wait, I can't keep you safe anymore. So I created a series of exercises to help you uncover that thing that is, i.e., invisible, hidden from you. And so every the wheel of fear has 4 components. One is the core trigger, then one is the fear response, and then there's 2 others. And then the antidote is the wheel of freedom, which also has 4 spokes. And that antidote, so got the core fear over here, right? Got the fear. And then the antidote is the wheel of freedom, and it has a starting point called your essential nature. So I'll tell you mine just to make it quick and
Yeah,
easy.
that's cool.
My core trigger, my core fear is to be seen, thought of, etc., smelled like a loser. Now, I've never been called a loser my whole entire life, right? I was a straight A student, class president. Even after all that, I still was, sang choir, I overachieved, right? Because I am unconsciously running from that feeling of loser, right? So other people could be running from incompetent. Some other people could be running from stupid, right? But it's that thing that causes you that automatic reaction, causing you to make choices in an automatic way, right? So mine is, I don't want you to think or feel or experience me as a loser. Okay. So that's my core trigger, my one aspect of the four spokes. My wheel of freedom, my essential nature, the thing that I hid away by the time I was 7, because your wheel of fear is created by the time you were 7. And neuroscience now says our fears can be handed down through our DNA. So it may not even be about your culture, your parents, your your where you grew up, your experiences. It may have nothing to do with that. It may have to do with your great 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 grandfather or your great 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 grandmother, right? So the why of why you're like this becomes irrelevant. It's about looking at you just the way it's going down now, right? So my wheel of freedom, my essential nature, the thing that I hid away when fear is on alert. So whenever fear is on alert, the thing that I want to hide away is being authentic. Okay. So think about this for a minute. If I'm afraid to be seen as a loser, but my cure, my antidote is authentic, my wheel of fear tells me if I'm authentic, everyone's going to know I'm a loser. They will know it. So that is quote unquote the double bind, right? The like, wait a minute. So what I do as Rhonda Britten is when I first discovered this, when I first uncovered this, I had to actually figure out who I was because I didn't even know who I was. I had lived a life thinking I knew who I was. But when I really started asking myself some simple questions, like what's my favorite color? I realized my favorite color was green because my boyfriend in kindergarten's favorite color was green. And my favorite food was Mexican because my ex-husband's favorite food was Mexican. Now, I would not have admitted that before or even been aware of that before, but now I am really clear what the mask of Rhonda is versus the Rhonda, authentic Rhonda. So
Yeah.
whenever I am triggered, I, Rhonda Britten, get triggered because I'll get triggered the rest of my life because we don't ever get rid of fear because we want to keep growing. Is I go, okay, Rhonda, if you were being authentic right now, what would you say or do? Uh, 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 right? What would you say or do? Well, if you're authentic right now, gulp, 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 right? I might speak up. I might say no. I might say, again, what I could have a countless things to do. And those countless things are the second step on the wheel of freedom, which is proactive behaviors that you design based on your essential nature, right? So basically, I help you outline how fear works for you, the four components of the whole process of fear. And I do that so that you can figure out when to get off, because you can get off before your fear responses, after your fear responses, after your self destructive behaviors, after your core negative feeling pops up, right? You can get off anywhere. And where you want to get off to is the wheel of freedom, that essential nature, move to proactive behaviors, then to your sense of wholeness, and then self affirming behaviors. So when you have that model, you're no longer confused about what's happening, and you're no longer beating yourself up thinking you should know better. Now you have basic foundational tools that are basically going to get you out of almost everything. And
Yeah.
those proactive behaviors could include meditation, yoga, you know astrology, human design. Like the proactive behaviors can be anything, right? But if you don't know where to begin, then you're kind of shooting in the dark.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And I appreciate you sharing your own personal experience and understanding of it because it really brings it clear. You know what I mean? It adds a level of clarity to it where it goes from theoretical and conceptual
That's right.
to tangible, and that's fantastic. So, wow, that's yeah. I mean, I'm still sort of processing, but so fear is like dreams. Okay, they can be tricky because
Yep.
on the one hand, we want to be able to share them, especially
Yep.
with people we love, people we're close to, everything else. We know that it can deepen our connection with people. It can bring us closer and all that. But on the other hand, we're vulnerable. If
That's
we
right.
share something that's really
That's
important
right.
to us and sensitive, we're sort of exposing our underbelly there.
That's right.
And so I guess the $1 million question about that is should we share these things? Should we keep them to ourselves? I mean, because there's always that fear that someone isn't going to validate us.
Yeah. So I'm going to just say I'm a firm believer in keeping the circle tight. because it also dissipates energy. When you start talking about your dreams and you start talking about them, just like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do this and I'm going to see it now. Oh my God, I got the calling and I know I'm supposed to do it. I'm supposed to do it. Yeah, I'm going to. And you're talking, talking, talking. Research has shown that as you talk about it, you actually somehow think you did it.
Wow.
So that is actually a proven thing. People talk about things, it actually feels like they've already accomplished it. So what you want to do is you want to actually increase, I don't want to say that anxiety, but increase that, like, I've got to do it, right? But as you're talking about it, it dissipates your energy. So you want to actually compress your energy. You actually want to keep it tight. So sure, share it with somebody you love. Now that person, or share it with somebody you trust, not even who you love, because that dream may not be shared with your wife or your husband or spouse, right? Or partner. That may not be the best place to share it. It might be with a coworker who, you're not even close to, but they have the same philosophy.
Yeah.
And, so you might talk about it with a stranger on a plane, right? Because you've got to keep it tight in order to create that energy surge to give you the courage to take action. So I want to give a gift to your listeners, if you don't mind, because
Absolutely.
this is exactly what I want to gift. It's a course called Stretch, Risk, or Die, and it is about exactly this. When do you take stretches? When do you take risks? When do you take dives? When do you really dive in? And this is my clients, by the way, their favorite tool. And it talks about comfort zone, stretch zone, risk zone, die zone, and how fear is in between each one of those. To get out of your comfort zone, you have to move through the wheel of fear. To move from the stretch zone to the risk, you have to move through the wheel of fear. In order to move from the risk zone to the die zone, you got to move through the wheel of fear. And here in Fearless Living, we believe in getting a big, giant comfort zone so you can be comfortable anywhere with anyone about anything, right? Talk to anyone. So I want your comfort zone to be huge. So I would love to gift my course, Stretch, Risk, or Die. And by the way, it cures procrastination, because now you're going to see where you get stopped. And it's at fearlessliving.org, fearlessliving.org/risk, RISK, fearlessliving.org/risk, RISK. You're going to put your name, your email in, and then you're going to get access to my platform, to that course, Stretch, Risk, or Die. It's 3 15-minute videos, people. 3 15-minute videos. Okay. Super easy. There's audios, there's workbooks, there's templates, there's everything you need. There's worksheets for health, if you want to work on health, for business, for career, for love, for, right. It's got worksheets for everything to help you create some proactive behaviors in order to move forward. So just FYI, it's got everything you need, 3 15-minute videos. And then another cool bonus is at the end of the third video, I actually, on a big board, I go through the wheel of fear. So you actually see the wheel of fear in action. So you're going to be able to see each component. You're going to see how they work together. I'm going to take you through mine in detail, and you're going to hear questions from the audience about the wheel of fear. So you're going to get a deeper understanding of the wheel in video 3. So fearlessliving.org/risk, and go and download that, get access to that now. So yes, am I a big believer? Yes, you got to hold on to that energy, because that's going to give you more it's going to propel you forward faster. Don't dissipate your energy. Keep it tight.
It's funny, because I've never heard anybody say that before, but I can tell you, as an entrepreneur, I've experienced it, because I've had things where I had a lightning bolt of an idea and I'm excited about it. And the minute I start sharing it, all of a sudden I get this weird feeling when I'm done talking about it, like it's not that exciting anymore, or I'm just not that motivated anymore. It's the weirdest thing. But I didn't realize, yeah, I didn't realize it until you just said that. I mean, I'm pretty self-motivated. I've done a lot anyway. So, but I've had that experience a number of times about, things that I was excited about in the moment or what I was going to do. And then it was fascinating to me, because I was just so excited about it 2 minutes ago.
Yep.
And now I'm sort of like, it's
Whatever.
cool, but yeah,
I don't need to do that. Yeah.
I guess I already shared my win. So, I don't need to score more points than everybody else anymore.
Right,
I mean,
right.
yeah,
I already
it's
shared it and told everyone how brilliant I am, and look at this great idea, right? Like I already
true.
exhibited my brilliance in amazing.
It's a fascinating phenomenon, but it's absolutely true, I have to say.
It's kind of
So,
like
all right.
writing. I'll say one more thing just about
Yeah.
writing. Like when you talk about your book instead of writing your book, right? So it's the same thing. You're telling people a story over and over again, and you're not writing it down. That same thing. You don't have to write it down, because now you've dissipated the energy, and everyone's like, "That's great," and now you don't have to write it.
Yeah, no, I could totally see that. And I've seen other people do it. Good people that I know are motivated. It's not that they're dreamers, they
That's right.
they work hard, but they'll say so and then it doesn't come to pass. And when you ask about it later, they're sort of lukewarm even on the idea because it's just not that palpable anymore. I don't it's weird, but all right, so if we want to live this fearless lifestyle, we want to go all in, live fearlessly,
Yes.
but someone close to us that we can't escape, a spouse, partner, family member, whatever, isn't on board with it. Maybe they're not anti, but they're just not on board with it. Is there a way to manage that?
Yes, absolutely. Um, People worried about what their spouse, partners, friends, family think is one of the number one barriers for people to change their lives. Number one. I hear that over and over again. Well, what if my husband's not going to love me anymore? Or I'm going to lose my best friend, or my parents will disown me, or, they are petrified that they're going to lose their support system, i.e., support system for their wheel of fear, by the way, not their support system for their wheel of freedom, by the way, just FYI, right? So yes, that's why in Fearless Living, my book, and in the Fearless Living Transformation Program, and in every coach I train, we talk about the difference between fear junkies and fear busters. And a best friend, my best friend is a fear junkie in some areas and a fear buster in others. And I actually walk you through how to talk to them, what to say to them, how to interact with them, because you need those skills,
Yeah.
right? You need those skills. And you also need to understand what could happen, because they're just, blanket, like, I'm afraid they're going to leave, right? No, let's break it down. Let's break it down and really see what's potentially could happen. What if they say this? What if they say that? Like, we role play the heck out of things. I got to tell you, most of my private clients, probably 40, 50% of our time is spent role playing, because they have a big meeting. They have a big project coming up. They have a presentation, and we break it all down, because we've got to prepare. How are we going to stay in our fearless center while we're in the midst of being criticized, judged, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, huge. I would say that's the one of number two issues that stop people from transformation. They might listen to me and you talk, but then they don't do anything because of this exact issue. So fear junkies and fear busters, I actually walk you through it in my of course, the Fearless Living Transformation Program. And I actually show you what to say and how to say it, and what fear junkies are. And oh, by the way, we're all fear junkies. I'm a fear junkie to people, and you're a fear junkie to people. So starting to recognize that when somebody is not on board, it has nothing to do with you. It's that you're activating their wheel of fear. And so if you can talk to their wheel of freedom, things can shift. And that's one of the number one benefits of understanding your wheel of fear, is now you see other people's wheel of fear. And you actually literally don't take things personally anymore, because you get that person who's rude to you, or that person that loved one who's saying, like, that's not a good idea. It has nothing to do with you.
Right.
They're afraid you're going to leave. They're
Yeah.
afraid they're not going to be good enough. They're afraid that you're not going to love them if they stay the same. They're afraid, and they're putting it on you. So there's 5 types of fear junkies, 4 types of fear busters. You'll be able to identify each one. I'll be able to walk you through how to do it. But again, what I want you to hear is, if somebody doesn't support you, it has nothing to do with you, nothing to do with you, nothing to do with you. It's that just this conversation has activated their wheel of fear, and they are in survival mode. And if they can keep you back, then they can stay the same. If you move forward, then they can't stay the same, and then they're going to have to become different, and they're going to have to learn things, and they're afraid to death who they will be, what they will become, and who they will lose. They're afraid of that. So keeping you back keeps them safe. So not taking it personally and recognizing it's just their wheel of fear. You can love them, love them, love them, love them, love them, but talk to their wheel of freedom. Talk to their wheel of freedom. And when you do that, the conversation changes.
That's fascinating. The whole perspective is fascinating because I think it's so hard for people to see it that way, but you can just feel that it rings true. That's exactly what it is. It's motivated by fear, whether it's fear of losing you, fear of them not being good enough, whatever it is.
That's right.
It's just flipped because now it's them instead of you.
That's right.
You've gotten to the point where you've got the courage and you're going to go forward. But so yeah, wow, what a great way to frame that. I think that's fascinating. And that's got to be a really great exercise to go through. So,
It is,
um,
and what you can do is, if you know your wheel of fear and wheel of freedom, then you can start anticipating these things, right? So you can start going, you can start reassuring, you can start talking to them in a different way, right? So you don't say, "You don't support me." No, that's who cares about. You're never going to say that again. You're like, that's waste of energy. What are you doing, right? That's a fear bait. Like, you don't support me. You don't really love me. No, that's all baloney baloney. They're afraid.
yeah.
So your language changes. The way you talk to them changes, and you can start that today before you ever announce what you want to do. Before you ever talk. Before you take a step, you can start doing it to prepare the ground, so to speak, to help move them into a place of safety, so that when you start shining, they're like, "You go," right?
That's great. That's great. Perfect. Thanks for that. All right. I have one last question I got to ask. I ask everybody, and I want to know what you're going to say. It's, what is your number one tip for success as a business owner or an entrepreneur?
Oh, wow. I will say this. So, are you willing to be wrong about everything to find the right life for you? Are you willing to be wrong about everything? So that level of humility that we need to actually listen to the source, to our intuition, to the divine, to the idea that's being birthed inside of us, we must have the humility, and humility only comes from our willingness to be wrong. If we're willing to be wrong, then we're going to find the right answers much more quickly.
I love that. I love that advice. I'll tell you a funny little anecdote about this. So, when I was going to start my podcast 2 years ago, we can unpack all the fear elements of it too. But the reality of it is, one of the things that held me back was I believed to start a podcast for entrepreneurs. I had been a 20-year entrepreneur. So, was I the most successful that ever lived? No. Did I make more money than everybody? No. But do I know enough to be able to help people? Sure. But
Yeah.
what held me back is the belief that I had to be the answer guy. Like,
Yeah.
in order to have a podcast, I got to have all the answers. Then I said, wait a minute. I literally went to bed one night. I woke up in the morning and I said, I don't need the answers. I just need to share the journey.
Yes.
Right? If I'm vulnerable, if I'm honest about the things I struggle with, and I'm honest about the loneliness and how it can be, isolating and solitary, that's the point anyway, because that was the reason I wanted to do it, was
Yeah.
to let other people know that, listen, whatever your struggles are, it's a really noble thing to do, and it's really challenging to start your own business and move forward with that. There's enough negativity around you. You don't need to beat yourself up too.
That's right.
You need to
You're
know
not
there's other
crazy.
people out
You're
there.
not. You're not crazy. Right.
Yeah, is it right? And so as soon as I made that switch, though, right, and I said, okay, it's not about that. It's about going through that journey, being vulnerable and being okay with that, having the humility to say, look, I don't know everything. I'm going to share with you what I know. I'm going to share with you the good, the bad, the ugly, and we'll do this journey together. And if there's things that I can learn from people along the way too, great. And so, and it was also in that moment very liberating,
Yes.
because I took the pressure off of myself too, and I could just lean in and have fun with it.
That's right.
I could explore my passion, I could dive in, and I could just do it authentically and not worry about anything else. And that's a great way to be in anything that you're doing in your life. So,
Well, and that's the benefit of the wheel of fear and wheel of freedom, because it focuses you on what really matters. So,
yeah,
we have too many solutions and too many problems. But if you know that the solution always is, okay, Rhonda, just be authentic. Oh, that's easy. I can do that. Right. And if you know it all comes down to my fear of being a loser, it's a lot easier, rather than getting all caught up in like, oh, is it competition, or is it I'm this and I'm like, right? We have so many problems we think we have, and we really only have one. And when you have a real clear solution, like, okay, Rhonda, just be authentic, i.e., just you be authentic, right? You just be yourself, right? Just be who you are. Then everything can fall away, and we can just be at peace and be alive and be
I love
ourselves.
that. Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's awesome. It's a great way to live. So, all right, with that, it's just about time to wrap things up. I want to thank you again so much, Rhonda, for coming on, sharing all your insights, great tips with us. Visit fearlessliving.org/risk to cure procrastination for good. With
That's
one
right.
of Rhonda's most popular courses, Stretch, Risk, or Die. It'll show you what's been stopping you from taking action, and more importantly, what to do about it. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. And as always, remember, no matter what you want for your business and your life, don't compromise, optimize.